Are you ready to start getting ready for our May Cuties table toppers? It's time to start prepping. Hey everyone, Kristen Som here, and I just finished prepping for our May Cuties table toppers. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information. This will be a really quick one actually. So I have my packets all filled. If you haven't ordered the packets, they're a quick delivery from Amazon. I will add a link here. It's an affiliate link, so I get a little bit of kickback when you order it from our Amazon affiliate. So these are the packets that I use. It only took 7 packets, so not very many. There's 35 in the pack, so you probably have some left over, although we're working on quite a few projects, so we don't have a ton left over. But so just real quick, some information. I chose the thread colors, and in my last video, the unboxing video, I showed you that our sponsor, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, has thread packs for our May Cuties. So I'm using that. There's 4 threads in the pack, and then I added a couple of extras. So there is a list underneath this video of all of the thread colors that I'll be using for this project, so that you can see what you already have or start building your stash. It's a great way to build your stash if you get those little 4 packs from My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop. So on page 14 and 15 is our May Cuties. It's the one with the butterflies. It's so cute. And the packet, the fabric pack that came from our sponsor, is great with teals and oranges. It's going to be really pretty. I'm excited about it. So I will be putting mine up there on the wall. I might have it in my kitchen for a little bit, but I'm liking having it on my wall. Up to you, however you want to do it. So all of the directions for cutting and prepping are on page 15. You can see I've got a lot of notes. So I wrote a bunch of notes, just a few things that I want to mention to point out to you. And then on page 16, there is a guide. This is really important so that you can get all of your cuts out of your full fabric, all right? And there will be leftovers. There was quite a bit left over. And I want to point out, I don't know if you can see this, but I put little X's on some of them. And I did that so that I still can cut using the guide, but I know not to stabilize those, because I used to, and actually sometimes, many times, I will stabilize the entire fabric and then I'll cut it. But I have to be very careful to take out the parts that are for like backing and for binding. Those parts we don't want stabilized. It's not a huge problem if you do, but I generally prefer not to. So anyway, sorry, I'm getting messages. So I just want to go over a couple of really quick things. So I'm just going to go through them. I think I'll do it by fabric. That might be easier. So the packets that I have are the center, and we will be doing the orange peel just like we did for April. So all of the center, and notice that I've got my batting in my packet too. I made a batting guide for you. I will add it in this video so you can do a screenshot. I will also add it in the comments on our Facebook post in Kristen Creates so that you can download it. But you do want to have all of your batting and all of your fabrics cut. You don't have to do it beforehand. It's totally optional, totally up to you if you want to do it beforehand. I will every day go through, this is what we're going to work on. These are the fabric cuts. This is the batting cut. This is the quilting design. So you don't have to prep. It's totally up to you and your schedule and what works for you. So anyway, lots of fun things. So I'm just going to go through the guide. So like I said, that first one I have center orange peel, and then the next one was inner borders, that one. And then I have triangles next after that. And that one's got the Mylar in there. And then the corner blocks and the outer borders. I always put them in 2 packets, but you could put them in 1 because we're going to use them together, up to you. And then backing, and I have a note about the backing, and then binding, and this also has a note. Okay, so let me just go over each of the fabrics. So the first one is that fat quarter of, it's like a mustard colored fabric, and there's no notes on that one. Cut it just like the guide says. The next one is the orange plaid. So let me see. Yep, this one. So let me just point out. So this is the one I was saying is the like mustard colored. It's kind of a gold mustard color. And there's no notes on that. Just follow the guide. What it says, it's the first fabric on page 15. And that one, there's no notes on it. Just do it as is, but make sure to stabilize it with the Kimberbell fusible backing so that you don't get puckering. So the next one, the second one down, is the orange plaid, and this one is for our corner blocks. And like I say every month, I highly recommend cutting it bigger. In the directions, it'll say 2.5 by 2.5. I recommend cutting it 3 by 3 whenever possible. It's a fabric scrap that you'll get on this, and so you just cut it as big as you can. Mine was a little less than 6 by 6, so I wasn't able to get a full cut of 3 by 3, but pretty close. So whatever you can do to make it a little bit bigger, and as I've mentioned on other videos, the reason for that is so that you can tack it down, and it just makes it easier when you can tack it down, and then you've got that line to be able to use as a cut guide as well. So 3 by 3 on both the fabric and the batting. And like I said, I've got an entire batting guide. Let's see, now I'm getting these out of order after the triangles. All right, and then the next one down is the brown, it's a tan colored with flowers, the third one down on page 15. And that is for our inner borders and our binding. And lots of notes on this one. So as I always recommend on the inner borders, it says in the guide to have 2 of them be 1 3/4 by 10.5, and I cut mine to 1 3/4 by 12. I definitely prefer having them a little bit bigger so that everything fits the way it should. It won't pull in from the stitching. You want it to have enough space that in case there's any problems, and then you trim it down with assembly, during assembly. Super easy to do. So that first one, inner borders, 1 3/4 by 12, and then that's for inner borders A. And for inner borders B, it says in the guide to have 2 pieces that is 1 3/4 by 13. Sorry, I wrote over mine. 1 3/4 by 13, and I did it to 15. So 1 3/4 by 15. And again, just so that they're a little bit longer, you can cut them down after they're assembled, and so that you don't have to worry that they won't fit, because I've had it happen and it's not fun. And then the other one of that same fabric, this tan with all the little flowers on it, that one, the other part is the binding, and you just don't want to stabilize that. If you end up doing it, I did it last month by mistake, even after telling all of you guys not to do it, I did it. So it happens, and it's not a huge big deal, but preferably it is easier to get those mitered corners and things when you're not stabilizing the binding. All right, so that's the third one down. The fourth one down, it says in the guide that we will get the tan with the flowers again for our backing, and I did not. I got a tan silky solid, which is totally fine by me. I just pointed out so that if yours is different as well, that you're not like, oh, what happened? It doesn't matter. So mine is a tan silky solid for our backing fabric. All right, so I just wanted to point out that, and you don't want to stabilize that either. You can if you want to. Some people do, and more power to you. I choose not to. All right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth fabric down is the white with the white dots, and that's for our triangle blocks. Nothing different on that. And then the next one down is the outer borders. So let me point out the outer borders. So the outer borders is this mint colored doodle fabric, and that one, again, just like the inner borders, I recommend cutting them bigger. So in the book it says to cut them 2.5 by 18, 4 pieces, and I cut mine 2.5 by 20, just to make sure that that stitching isn't pulling in at all, and then I'll cut it down with when I get to assemble them. So that's my recommendation. A little bit larger, it doesn't matter, but I did mine 2 inches larger, so I did mine 2.5 by 20, and that's for the outer borders. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th fabric down on page 15. All right, I should have written numbers so I'm not sitting here counting. The next one down is the triangles and the centers, so it's the lattice teal fabric, and no changes on that one. Everything exactly how it says in the book. Now this one, I want to point out something funny. I actually made a little mistake, but then it ended up not mattering at all. I'm going to pull them out of this packet so you can see them. So the first one, oh, that's not even it. I almost made a mistake again. How funny. All a flutter. So it's in the triangles, not the centers. There we go. There it is. All right, so the first one listed is this orange star fabric. And for some reason, I looked at that and grabbed this one and started cutting it to the size listed for this one. And then I realized, oh, those are two different fabrics. So I'm just going to point it out right here. And the funny thing is they need to be the same size, so it didn't matter in the slightest. But I just wanted to point out that there are two orange star fabrics. This one's more like a flower. This one is definitely a star, and they're different. So I made that mistake, so I'm just pointing it out to you in case it's an issue with you. And then there's also this orange flower fabric. And again, they're all the same size, so it really didn't matter in the slightest, but I was a little panicked when I realized that I cut them, and then it turned out they were the right size anyway, so it was fine. So two different orange star fabrics, and they are different. So nothing different with that other than the fact that they're similar. Let's see. And then iridescent mylar. Oh, so I wanted to point out on the iridescent mylar, it's kind of funny. I thought that they messed mine up. I thought that I didn't have the right size. Can you hear Archer sighing? And I'm getting messages. So on this one, there is plenty. There's actually a whole extra sheet. But anyway, on the mylar, open it. Make sure to open it all the way, because I pulled mine out and I'm like, oh, it's not quite long enough. I'm not going to have enough. And kind of panicked a little bit about it. And then I saw that I hadn't opened it all the way up. So make sure to open your mylar all the way up. That is on the last part. It's the last item on page 15, and there is plenty of mylar, so just make sure that you've opened it all the way. That was just my little errors, just pointing it out just in case you make the same mistake that I did. All right, and then just remember that there is that cut guide that's on page 16, and it helps if you write a little X or cross it out or something on the what is it, the binding and the backing. I think those were the only things that we didn't stabilize, but that might help you when you get to the guide. So the binding and the backing, those were the only ones. And then, like I said, the outer borders and inner borders, cut them a little bit bigger. I gave you the information already, and the corner blocks. Hold on. Sorry about that. My dog was thrown out in my craft room. Not okay. So I had to get him out. Anyway, so like I said, page 16 is the cut guide. Put a little mark on the ones that you don't want to stabilize. The corner blocks, make sure to cut a little bit bigger if you can. Everything else is very similar to the book, so you're all good. And let's go ahead and get started prepping for our project. I'm hoping to start it on Monday. right, don't forget, I always ask you to create a goal for the length of the project that we're going to work on. So this one should only take us about a week, depending on how much time I can dedicate to editing those videos. But so what is your goal? Short-term goal, just a short one. So I am going to do a different goal this time. There is a badge on NordicTrack that is only the length, it's only during the rest of this month, so until April 30th, and you can do all of these runs in Ireland, and how cool to see Ireland. So, but it's a very short-term amount of time to earn the badge. I don't remember how many workouts there are. I think like 8, I'm not sure. But anyway, I've done 2. So I've already done 2. My goal is to try and get all of those runs in Ireland completed before the end of the month. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. Lots of other things on the plate to take care of, but that's my goal. So I want to hear what your goal is and what you need to do to work toward it.